Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of Cocktails, Hard Knocks, and Fabulous Revenge. If you enjoy this story, give it a like. It's much appreciated and helps the channel grow. If you have any comments or future story suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Now, let me get my drink of choice, and let's listen to Eli's story. So, let me tell you how I got fired in front of my entire company and somehow ended up owning the whole damn thing less than a week later. My name's Eli Rivera. I'm a graphic designer, or at least I was, before the new interim management decided I didn't fit their vision. They thought I was just another creative they could replace and do it with no warning, no meeting, and no thank you for your 10 years of service. Hell, not even a bitchy, bye-bye, sweetie, don't let the door hit you on the way out, and do something about that lip wrist or you won't get anywhere in this industry again. Yeah, it was a hard pill to swallow, to just let go of something you loved and built over a decade. And the kicker? The best part of this little melodrama? Oh, I wish I was making that up, because a week later, I owned the company. They had no idea the unapologetically gay artist they fired was about to become their boss. But before I tell you how I turned a public firing into a corporate takeover, you need to understand what Blink Studio was and what it had become. When Blink started, it wasn't glamorous. Far from it. Just 4 friends in a rented loft above a laundromat in the Soma district of San Francisco. There was no funding then, no real plan, just top ramen, hope, a half-broken espresso machine that screamed like a dying seagull every time you used it, and a printer that sounded like Darth Vader realizing his son had destroyed his day job. But we were all talented, committed, and had a passion for seeing a dream come to life. Marcus and Paul were the founders, the ones who brought us together. Marcus had big ideas and a contagious energy you just wanted to be around. Paul was quiet and methodical, the heart of the operation. Nancy, she was a smooth-talking lesbian with great ideas and lots of connections, and always rode in the dyke contingent for the Pride Parade. And then there was me, Eli Rivera, 23, gay, fresh out of design school, and just happy someone would pay me an actual money instead of promises and exposure to do art. Paul told me over drinks when they approached me, "We can't pay much, but if this works, you'll be part of it, for real." That line stuck with me, and by the next weekend when we all met at our favorite Soma watering hole for cocktails and to trade hard knock stories, Blink Studios was born. So I built the brand from nothing, poured myself into the vision logo, palette, tone, even the goofy motivational posters in the break room. Our slogan was, "Creative work with heart." And for 4 years, that's what we lived by. We grew from 4 people to 40 to hundreds. Marcus and Nancy both retired, cashed out early. Marcus even moved to Spain. Paul stayed, running the creative side with me at his right hand. He always treated me like a partner, not an employee. Blink wasn't just my job. It was my family. Then, 4 months ago, Paul died suddenly. Heart attack. And when that happened, I hadn't just lost a dear friend. Blink lost its soul. After Paul passed, the investors moved in fast. They wanted Blink to be absorbed by a massive parent company, the kind with vision desks and quarterly cultural health reports. But until Paul's estate could be cleared up, he was the major stockholder, and his death had left a power vacuum. Any company buyout was put on ice. So the investors decided to shake up management. And that's when Trent showed up. Trent Waverly, the new vice president of brand. Fresh from some global ad firm that probably sold soda to penguins or something. He looked like a business magazine cover, designer suit, perfect hair, smile so polished it could blind you, Bluetooth headset embedded in his ear, and an ego visible from orbit. He shook my hand on his first day and said, "So, you're the creative legacy everyone keeps talking about." I said, "Yeah, I guess I've been here a while." He smirked. "Well, time to bring Blink into the modern era," which, in hindsight, was code for, "You're the old furniture we're about to replace." From that moment, I knew he didn't respect history or people. He started reorganizing the creative department immediately. He wanted streamlined aesthetics and brand-neutral visuals. Corporate translation: no personality. Every week, someone was let go for restructuring. And weirdly, it was always the same kind of people. Queer, trans, non-binary, or just too expensive. One of our best illustrators, Jordan, a trans guy, fired for inconsistent tone. Mina, lesbian art director, let go for a personality clash. Theo, our non-binary UX lead, gone after missing one Zoom meeting because of a migraine. Management Golden Boy called it streamlining. Yeah, streamlining. And I'm 3 carats short of a rabbit and drag in a Saturday morning cartoon. It was as plain as day, and we called it what it was: homophobia in an overpriced Tamu blazer. Oh, he never said anything directly, of course. Nothing that could get him hauled into HR. That's not how people like him operate. But the pattern was obvious. He'd compliment my designs and then accidentally miscredit them. My vibrant, people-centered designs, the ones that made Blink famous, were suddenly off-brand and a little too loud. Once he said in a meeting with a high-profile client, "We're aiming for something less flamboyant." After those words paraded out of his mouth, everyone in the room went dead silent, and the clients didn't come back after the lunch break. That's when I started realizing my out and proud ass was next for the tread of Trent's boot. Over the next few weeks, my projects started disappearing faster than a corpse in a 3-act farce. Routine emails I sent were ignored. I stopped getting invited to project strategy meetings. One day, I walked by the main boardroom and saw Trent presenting my most recent rebrand concepts, the ones I'd been refining for weeks. He was calling it the new Blink aesthetic. He used my designs, the vibrant color gradients, the human-centered typography, but stripped them of everything that made them mine. He'd taken something personal, vibrant, and made it lifeless. He was going to use that aesthetic like an iceberg and sink Blink into mediocrity, or worse, irrelevance. After the meeting, I confronted him. I said, "Hey, Trent, if you're going to use my work, I'd appreciate at least being looped in." He looked at me like I'd asked him for a gin-soaked kidney. "Eli, you're being emotional. We're trying to build a scalable brand system. Let the team handle it." I said, "I am the team. He smiled like Wiley had finally caught the Roadrunner. Not for long, if you keep making this so personal. He rolled his eyes and walked away. That's when I knew. This wasn't about my performance. It was about me. Then came the all-hands meeting with bad coffee, Costco muffins, and a creeping existential dread. A big presentation day, and they had cheaped out yet again. Trent had that fake excitement voice, talking about organizational realignment and next phase leadership, as he walked through the clumps of employees with the smug grin of a used-up politician. Everyone finally moved to their seats, murmuring. Then, as I was taking a slug of that bad coffee, HR walked in. Clipboard, folder. Well, the day had finally come. They announced my departure in front of everyone. Trent said, "We're restructuring creative leadership to align with our future direction." I knew it had been coming, but I zoned as Trent continued with the usual corporate poetry for "We don't want your kind here," only hearing Eli Rivera, creative differences, company direction, effective immediately. I could feel 100 eyes on me, some sad, some scared. No one said a word. At the end of the meeting, Trent handed me the HR folder, patted me on the back, and said, "You'll always be part of Blink's story, Eli." They had just ripped something I had helped build and loved away. I was numb. Yeah. You have no idea. They had already cleaned out my workspace. I was told the box was at the reception desk. I took a deep breath and walked out. I didn't make a scene, even though my heart was pounding like a hamster on leg day, and I really wanted to wipe that fake white grin off Trent's face. That elevator ride felt like the longest minute of my life. And at the end of it, I was going to need a cocktail and a big gulp martini glass. A few nights later, I was home, looking out my sliding glass deck door at Carl rolling over Sutro Mountain and the lights of the Castro district slowly coming to life. I ate my cooling Chinese food surrounded by 10 years of my life. Logo drafts, color studies, client decks, award plaques. A dream lived and taken away too soon. I kept replaying the day in my head. How small they had made me feel. How Trent had barely been able to contain his joy at finally being rid of the last legacy and gayest employee at Blink, and doing it in front of the entire staff. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. I wasn't in the mood. The phone rang again. Same number. I groaned and answered, "Stolen Dreams Incorporated. How can I help you?" Mr. Eli Rivera? Yes? Who are you? Hello. I'm sorry to bother you so late. I'm Ellis Wynn, attorney for the estate of Paul Marin. My stomach dropped, and a buzz started to fill my head as she continued to speak. Wait, sorry, what did you say? Mr. Marin's estate cleared probate finally. I'm sorry it took so long. Oh, okay, I said absently. Before I could say more, she said, Mr. Rivera, there was a clause involving you that Paul made very clear was to be executed as soon as possible. Do I need to come in for a reading of the will? No, but you will need to come to my offices to sign some papers. She paused. Mr. Rivera, Paul left you a considerable financial portfolio that includes all of his Blink Studio shares. He left me his shares? I didn't even know he still had any. The company was up for a buyout. Alice continued, the buyout didn't start until after Paul's passing, but he was aware that some on the board of investors were wanting to sell, and seeing as he was not in good health, he chose to leave those stocks as well as the rest of his financial holdings to you. Really? Huh. They couldn't be worth much now. I mean, just focusing on the Blink stock, his stock holdings combined with your founding equity, Mr. Rivera, Alice said, that gives you 51% control of the company. I was as quiet as the family after my coming out at Aunt Myrtle's Thanksgiving dinner, just not as drunk. Then I started laughing. The kind of laugh you don't plan, the one that comes from disbelief. Paul had left me his half of the dream. He'd made sure Blink stayed in good hands. Can we talk in person tonight? I asked her. She gave me the address. I hung up, got cleaned up, and called a cab. Trent hadn't just drop-kicked me into obscurity. He had fired the new boss, and he didn't know what was about to hit him. The next morning, I got up early, trimmed my beard, showered, wore a neon pink beater under my loudest blazer, coral pink, floral lining, obnoxious and proud. Red leather pants, polished black boots, and a cat grin that said, "Where's the next homophobic mouse?" finished out the look. If I was going to reclaim my company, I was doing it unapologetically gay. I took my time walking down Market Street and into Blink's lobby. Alice was there waiting for me with a smirk by the front door. Is it done? I asked her. Paperwork filed. Legal and HR have been notified. You can clean house. There was a new receptionist who had been watching us, and as we finally approached, asked, "Hi, do you have an appointment?" I smiled. Yeah, with destiny. Okay, maybe I didn't say that, but it would have been cool. Anyway, I asked, "Where's Trent?" He and the rest of the senior staff are in a presentation. I looked at Alice and then back at the receptionist. Perfect. And started walking towards the boardroom. Sir, ma'am, you can't just... Alice gave the receptionist a card. Yes, he can. Please have someone from HR come to the boardroom. They are expecting him. Trent, bless his brittle little black heart, was mid-presentation talking about strategic creative shifts. When I walked in with Alice, a big splash of color in their beige morning, everyone froze. Trent frowned. Who let you in here, Eli? You no longer... As soon as Trent's over-manicured eyebrows had creased, Alice moved and sat the folder on the conference table. I'm Alice Wynne, and I represent not only the late Paul Marin's estate, but Mr. Rivera in the current matter before us." Everyone at that table looked confused. Trent started to speak, but Alice just opened the folder and continued. "The acquisition push for the sale of Blink Studios has been halted." "What? You have no authority to—" Trent said, face starting to turn red. "Paul left me his shares," I said evenly. "Those shares, combined with my founding stake, give me 51% controlling interest." The boardroom door opened again, and Jessie from HR walked in. I smiled at her and turned back to Trent. "Effective—" I looked at the paper Alice moved in front of me. "As of 8 a.m. this morning, I'm majority owner of Blink Studios." Trent's mouth actually opened and closed like a confused fish. I looked right at him and said, "Trent, you're fired. Effective immediately. HR will see you out." He started to protest, but I just smiled. "Consider it a design correction." It took months to fix what Trent had broken at Blink. The culture, the morale, the heart of the dream. But we did. We rehired the queer creatives he'd pushed out. We launched new campaigns centered around diversity, truth, and bold expression. And the logo? I redesigned it myself. Same framework, just more color, more life, with the reaffirmed slogan, "Creative work with heart." We even installed a neon sign in the lobby that says, "Creativity doesn't fit in a box." It also ended up on a few motivational posters in the break room. Every time I walk past it, I think of Paul, and of that moment in the elevator when I thought it was all over. Turns out, it was just the start. So yeah, that's how I got fired for being too much, too emotional, too gay, and ended up owning the place. Trent was right about one thing. Blink needed a rebrand. It just wasn't the one he planned. Sometimes the best revenge is ownership.